Anyway, enough chat interaction. I am sorry for those of you on Twitch who are watching. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can watch these games live on Twitch, twitch.tv/BIZBEAST. Otherwise, we're getting right into this knife round, and I don't know if it was just my imagination, but I'm pretty sure that Ludix was knifed in the back by his teammate. Yeah, he was. That he was. I'm not sure it really resulted in much difference in outcome, but EgoPeek win the knife round nonetheless, and decide to stay on the CT side. I'm going to let Auto Director control the show. He's got the reins, and we're gonna get started. Pistol round between EgoPeek and HeadShotBoys. This is an ESEA League match. EgoPeek is 4-7, and HeadShotBoys, they are 5-6. And Carbine jump spotted alt mid. He spotted 4 players, and he is immediately gonna fall back, run for the hills. And the A site players are going to take a little bit more of a defensive formation. They're going to fall back and try and play a little bit more solid, but unfortunately the B site players, they get aggressive, and this is something that they've done numerous times in the few times that I've watched them, and HeadShotBoys just read it perfectly. The A site players for EgoPeek went and jump spotted trying to find some players, and speaking of finding players, Scurvy wasn't expecting to find a player their church, but he ended up doing it regardless. And Womp, I'm not sure exactly what HeadShotBoys are doing. They're fighting here, and they really shouldn't be. They just keep giving the duels to EgoPeek, and I guess that they really want to show that they're the superior team. Ludix is going to take this fight with Mr. Beef, who's coffins. Seems like Mr. Beef is trying to find the other player, but now they're finally starting to play a little bit more intelligently on the HeadShotBoys side. They were just throwing themselves at EgoPeek, and I'm not really sure it was really the right call, but what also wasn't the right call is the push down banana from EgoPeek. Yes, the players were spotted alt mid immediately, but there was no presence or real map aggression that HeadShotBoys took. They showed presence, but that was about it. They didn't pressure anything. They didn't take sites. They didn't do much. I think that it was a little bit of a preemptive call to rotate that quickly from banana. A couple of nades come out though from EgoPeek, and Scurvy is going to take a lot of damage, down to 26, but he is on a Mac 10. He's definitely an expendable soldier this round, and HeadShotBoys, they realize that their opponents are on a very skimped buy. I mean, they are taking control very quickly with literally no resistance, but they finally meet some. Carbine and Mr. Beef take 2 down, and that's with just pistols. Womp gets dinked himself down to 36. He was unsure of where that player was, but he does have the superior weaponry, so it didn't really matter in the end. Nonetheless, some damage has been done. EgoPeek, if they want to do anything more into this round, anything more substantial, they're really going to have to do it right here, right now. And Womp is on 19 HP, and he's going to fight this. And what a flash from change your fucking name to something shorter. These guys have terrible names, I've got to say. I know that's very unprofessional of me trying to cast this. I normally cast very professionally, or at least try to, but Ludixowi, Thwomp, Louis Vuitton. Oh, Louis Vuitton, really? Quiro? I gotta say, these names are terrible. As what's also terrible is the counter utility coming out from HeadShotBoys is almost non-existent. Sal, that's what I'm going to refer to him as, not Louis Vuitton. Sal takes 80 damage in a Molotov before finally extinguishing it with a smoke. And Scurvy just ran straight into an HE, taking 50 damage. That was very nice, though. What's also nice is Thwomp just seems to know exactly where Mr. Beef is. It's as though he has walls. Not that he does. I'm not saying that he does. I'm just saying he played that extremely well, as did Mr. Beef. He was just biding his time, and it seems as though he is going to get out there after getting 2 kills. And look at this play from Hugs and Slugs. He knows that they were not expecting another player to peek from the exact same angle that they just killed someone from. He had a very short-range weapon, so he did not really have the ability to kill them. But what he did have was the ability to do substantial damage. Look at the HP on the HeadShotBoys side. And it is significantly lower even now. Thwomp is on 10 HP. He's in a 1v1, but Brock takes him down, sustaining no damage either. He lives on 100 HP. He does not have a kit. He does not have any teammates. So HeadShotBoys, that was sort of a an extra round, a bonus round, if you will, and them being able to kill 4 players in that bonus round and get bombed down is good. Scurvy, he bought up a lot, and you see that he has died in all 3 rounds, which is why he's only on a deagle this round. The rest of his teammates, though, all have AKs, armor, and full utility. So, HeadShotBoys are looking poised to take another round. EgoPeek, they're going to see what they can do to stop this push. Flash out middle just to buy some time, and Mr. Beef hears a lot of footsteps. He hears some people on apps very quickly into this round, and HeadShotBoys are making their presence known all throughout the map. B-site players are playing a little bit more passive this time. Seems as though they don't want the same blunder as they had on the pistol round, but I'm not sure if that same blunder will be offered to them, because HeadShotBoys did not go B. Sorry, did not go A on the pistol round, and it seems like they're not really going B on this second round. Some noise is being made, but I have to say, spamming off a deagle like that, I think it's actually very weak. Usually, wow, what's not weak is this Molotov. Womp actually really knows his stuff. He is playing this game ridiculously well. He's calling out these positions. He knows everything. He also knows everything. Is Ludic. He knew that there was a player close because of that smoke, but I have to say HeadShotBoys are playing this very well. Unfortunately, Scurvy turned at the worst possible time, but Hugs and Slugs, he really needed to find that kill right there. Who does find a kill is Brock. He finds one and he leaves his carbine in a beautiful position for a triple spray down. The collateral for the final kill, the headshot through the player. The player pit was just a bait for the player on site. Carbine took advantage of the sacrifice that Brock made, and that was a very well-controlled spray. HeadShotBoys, I'd have to say, if you watch that round, you would think that they would come out with that round 9 times out of 10, and I guess that was just the 1 out of 10 that EgoPeek was destined to win. Some default utility comes out from the EgoPeek side, and fortunately, it looks like, wow. Looks like there's a lot of stuff happening very quickly. A little bit hectic off start, but 2 go in the way of EgoPeek and 1 in the way of HeadShotBoys. I'm sure Mr. Beef would have liked to get away there with his life before he died, but well, Thwomp was ready, and well, so is the rest of the team. HeadShotBoys, they find 2 players on this A site. Oh, Carbine is going to give away his position. He's going to throw that flash, but ooh, Kiro misses the shot. Running freeze in this arch position. He's unsure if he should commit to A or B, and seems as though HeadShotBoys are also debating the same thing. Looks like they're planning on going to B, but at the same time, Running Free is trying to support this A position, which is not where they are anymore. Hugs and Slugs is about to experience some pain if he does not play this properly. And he gets one and falls back. This is the proper play. He did exactly what he needed to do. He bought some time, fell back, and he repeaked at the right time, I have to say. I think that was really well played on Hugs and Slugs' part. He was just playing a little bit of a sliver angle. Jiggle peeked a little bit, spotted an enemy, took a kill, and fell back. That's how you have to play as a B-side anchor late in the round. I mean, seemed to do everything right. HeadShotBoys, though, did a lot of things right as well. They found a few easy opening kills from just a little bit of utility. They didn't have much, but that flashbang yielded a very easy kill. And this utility from EgoPeek is looking good. That nade, I thought that would have done a lot more. The second one does do a little bit more, and that Molotov is looking really good. Excuse me, I had to mute for a second to cough. But I'm back. And oh no, EgoPeek was not expecting there to be a player in front of this utility, and that was a blunder. I'm really not sure what they were really expecting there. I understand that they threw retake utility, but you can't really retake top banana. Sorry, you can't retake bottom banana if you don't even have top banana. Their opponents were just far ahead of their utility, and I don't think they were really expecting it, which you need to always expect everything, so I think that was just really poorly played on their part, and it's just going to result in an easy win for HeadShotBoys. Again, I am sorry. I left him mute a few times throughout this match. Hopefully it's kept to a minimum, but not much happened at the end of that round. HeadShotBoys won that one pretty convincingly. And EgoPeek's A site has looked okay. Their B site has looked a little bit less than stellar. Overall, though, HeadShotBoys have not really appeared to be the significantly better team, and I think it's a very obvious point right there as to why. I mean, Blump was just completely oblivious to the player that was in apartments. He wasn't even giving it a moment's notice. He didn't even think that it was a possibility, and instead he just gave up his life. Not really sure what that smoke does, but I'm not sure HeadShotBoys know what that smoke did either. I know what this one does. Oh, you're not supposed to jump through that. I don't think that was the smoke either. Smokes have been botched all around. The 3 smokes in a row have not gone to plan according to, well, me, I guess. Maybe they all went to plan. This is a very botched round. I honestly have no idea what's happening right now. Hugs and Slugs does find a kill right there. I'm surprised. I didn't even think that he did. Skirby comes very close to running free, who runs through the smoke and finds a bullet to the chest to take him out. Remaining 2 players, Brock and Mr. Beef, are in a 2v3 scenario. Mr. Beef is fighting with this player that is back new box, and takes a very quick headshot onto the player. Brock finds a second one onto Mr. Beef. Very clean, calculated shooting by Skirby. Seems to know what he's doing in terms of aim. HeadShotBoys take a 4th round. I have to say this is a very sloppy match on both sides. I don't think either team is necessarily playing at their best. A lot of missed utility, a lot of odd plays, to say the least. But it's not odd. Tried and true 5-man down mid. I'm not sure if it's gonna really result in anything other than their slaughter. It's the only real good way to put it. Slaughter, genocide, mass murder, suicide, and any will do. Any and all will do. The goal of that round was not to win, though. The goal was to get into this round as fast as possible with as good of weaponry as possible. EgoPeek is looking to take a fourth. The HeadShotBoys are looking to double up on EgoPeek's rounds. And this is a very fast B push. All 5 players up B. They are just running through these Molotovs. And speaking of running free is caught completely off guard. And seems as though Auto Director really just wants to emphasize that point. Running free, what trigger discipline. He is completely waiting for all of them, but sorry, Hugs and Slugs actually. Not running free. But it only resulted in 1 kill. I really think he needed to do more than that. But Mr. Beef also needed to do more from that position. Now they know that there are no players coming from this banana. They can just focus on CT and Church. And they do have a tiny bit more utility. They even have a Molotov. This can be really bad for EgoPeek. They're going to need to hit some stellar shots, and that's a good way to start. They don't have a kit. They find a second kill, and they have a very good position, idea of where the last player's position is. Unfortunately, they don't have a kit. They need to run away, and it's really unfortunate. EgoPeek hit some really nice shots at the end of that round, Carbine in particular, and it really doesn't matter. They didn't have much money going into that round, and it seemed as though they wanted to neglect some kits and for some better utility or weaponry, and came back to bite them. Thing is, though, EgoPeek, even though they lost that last round, they do have a bye into this next round. It's not a pretty bye, but it is a bye. We're gonna have 3 players over towards this B site, and it seems as though they're just trying to do a little bit of a default. This double flash results in an opening kill, but 2 go in favor of Sal, and that was a really nice spray. He lives on 9 HP. He's living on borrowed time, and oh, they throw away the op. That's actually really smart. Scurvy prioritizes that. He knows what he's doing. And he does. He really does know what he's doing. He does not jump through that smoke this time. That Moto smoke was thrown correctly, and Brock is going to rotate off of this B site completely because they know exactly where these A players are. They're in the middle of planting, and it seems as though HeadShotBoys have a good idea of where the EgoPeek players are. Running free. He pulled the trigger just a second earlier. He might have gotten that kill on Thwomp. But we are in a post-plant scenario. Brock has been found, as is running free. Brock is in a bad spot. He does molly out the player. He's in a one-on-one, but I'm not sure if he's going to really look at this angle. He doesn't, but... Oof. Ludic. That was a very nice snap back to reality. And oh, there goes Brock. EgoPeek continuously show perseverance and a lot of poise. It seems as though they really want to remain in this game, and they're trying their damnedest, but they just can't quite come up with the round wins. They've been close in a lot of these rounds. You can't say that they're out of it yet, but HeadShotBoys has just taken it over the line in every single one of these scenarios. Seems as though they just have the better clutch factor right now. Every single round that is close has just gone in their favor. EgoPeek has done well enough to bring it to a close battle, but a one-tap from Scurvy, though not the beautiful scream-like headshot one-tap, just a one-tap to the body. That's all you need when you have 99 HP dealt. This is a counterplay if I've ever seen one. EgoPeek has yet to have an op. We are in round 12. They've played 11 rounds without an op. This time, they go double op. And, seems as though they're looking for a very drastic change. I mean, I don't know any other good way to say it other than that it is a drastic change. Mr. Beef, one of the oppers, will be smoked off arch side. And the other player is on B site. Not really smoked off, but not much is really happening on that B site. As I say that, though, 2 players from HeadShotBoys are creeping up. They're roughly at car, and... well, that flash doesn't really allow them to get out A site all that easily. Molotov is just going to try and prevent anyone from EgoPeek on peeking the mid position. It seems as though they're falling back to this B site, and it's as though they're just trying to regroup right now. There is 40 seconds left, and they do have a lot of utility. They've done a lot with what they've got, but EgoPeek has as well. They haven't really used up too much utility, and what a shot. Blump just jumps through a smoke and immediately finds the Opper and Beef. Running free finds one, but immediately has to fall back. He is Molotov and smoked, and the player in the Thwomp who found the Opper on the A site finds 2, finds 3. He is on a tear. He has looked strong this entire game. If I had to point out a player, it would either be him or Scurvy. They have looked very clean, and unfortunately, they know exactly where this remaining Opper is and running free, and he is just chased down, and his op is retrieved. That round was simply beautiful from HeadShotBoys. I said that they've looked sloppy before, and that round didn't look anything stellar in terms of utility or executes, but what it did look beautiful in was their aim. They did execute well. They executed the players of EgoPeek systematically, immediately, without fail, without hesitation, right to the dome. That flash was very effective. Hugs and Slugs and running free find 2 kills towards the B site. And it seems as though Mr. Beef is found through mid smoke. He was playing a very cheeky angle. He deals 60 damage to the Opera and Ludix, though. And Hugs and Slugs actually did retrieve the AK on one of the players who died. They can't retrieve the second AK due to it being dropped significantly back behind enemy lines. Brock finds a beautiful timing on Kiro, though. And Domp and Ludix are in a 2v3 now. A 1v2, and the last player, who is only on 40 HP, has an op, and he is met with a jumping, flying MP9, and that's a very odd round win for EgoPeek. They've looked, they've struggled thus far, even on their full buys. They haven't really looked convincing, and yet they win with little. I think it really does have something to do more so with HeadShotBoys trying to play a little bit faster. It seems as though that's probably a little bit out of their element. I would imagine that headshots like that are a little bit deterring the EgoPeek side, and I believe that the players, the EgoPeek players realize that HeadShotBoys have gone really quick. They heard them run through that Molotov, and this is looking very difficult for EgoPeek. They have a player in Brock who's pit with 15 HP, and Blump knows exactly where he is. They have a great idea of where this player on site is in Carbine, and he's taken out before he can get a kill, and Hugs and Slugs and Mr. Beef are in a 2v4 scenario, and this is looking dire, to say the least. I would highly doubt that they would go for it. That's a really bad call. I think that you don't throw away your life that easily. It was nearly unwinnable. you have almost no utility, and your teammate wasn't really in a great position to trade you. I don't know why you're peeking like that. So last remaining player in Hugs and Slugs does have the op. He does have company. Not the nice kind. Isn't getting served tea. This is the last round of the half. And, we'll see what they can do here. EgoPeek, if they can pick up a 5th round. I mean, they definitely... They've definitely been going for, audacious peaks, to say the least. That being stated, that was a very quick shot from Ludix. I understand that they haven't peaked mid before, and so to hold mid like that was a little bit odd, but they need to try and spice something up, so I don't necessarily think that that's a horrible misplay from EgoPeek's part. I just don't really think I would approve of that play myself. But this doesn't mean the end of the world, and it's definitely not unwinnable for the EgoPeek side. HeadShotBoys, though, have taken great control with being able to keep a lot of their utility. As you can see, they took a lot of control throughout the entirety of the map, and what a one-tap. Hugs and Slugs could do nothing. Speaking of doing nothing, it seems like the remaining 2 EgoPeek players are going to be able to do almost nothing themselves. Kuro is in the perfect spot. He knew exactly where the other 2 players are going to be coming from. And they go down, well, almost whimpering. Said that both teams looked a little bit sloppy in the beginning parts of the game when it was 4-3, but HeadShotBoys picked it up considerably well. They looked actually very strong towards the last 4 or 5 rounds. Everyone on their team had great aim, some really great calls, and it seems as though they really did know where a lot of the players for EgoPeek were going to be. It's not over yet, though. Second half is starting now. And EgoPeek, they really need a pistol win round here. Pistol win round. Pistol round win here. And, not much else to say. I'm wondering if they are going to do their pistol round strat that they always do, because it looks like they are, and the player on B site here does have a kit, but that's all he has. He didn't have any armor. The other player drops a nade, and oof, that is a meaty nade. It does a good amount of damage. I don't know what Skirby is doing. He's wide swinging when his teammates aren't here to back him up. As is Sal. I don't get this. This is exactly what happened in the opening pistol round as well. The players for HeadShotBoys were just wide swinging into EgoPeek, but now it doesn't matter. Hugs and Slugs really needed to hit some shots right there. He eventually does hit 1. He hits 2. With one of his last bullets, Carbine puts himself into a 1v1. He gets a kill onto Sal, and there... swings a little bit too wide. I really understand that he tapped the bomb and that you needed to be wary of it, but you did not put yourself in a great position by coming up that close to sight. You didn't really have a great way to fall back. HeadShotBoys, though, I don't think they won that round because they played better. I think they just won that round because they hit the more headshots. The players on site just kept fighting even though they didn't need to. I mean, Skirby was alone on site with no armor, and he was just standing in the open, completely okay with it. I don't think that's the right call. I also don't think that this is the right call. I mean, I know that EgoPeek needs to get something going, but running in B alone is very risky, especially with no backup, and I'm pretty sure running free had almost all of the utility. Wow, that is a very interesting kill from Thwomp. This is an interesting position as well from Kiro. And look at this rotate, though. This is such a fast flank. HeadShotBoys, they had the right call. They knew exactly where their opponents were going to be, but Ludix, he wasn't able to find the opening kill on Brock, and with him being out in the open that fast, they realized that their opponents are flanking very quickly. They needed to find a kill, but instead it looks like EgoPeek is the one finding the kills. Carbine with 2 swift headshots. They know where this last player is. He's on site. Brock is just trying to hide. They're playing a bait and switch position, and Skirby really has no chance winning that as long as EgoPeek just played it together. That one looked a little bit better, and I have to say, I understand that running free jumped into B site alone and gave up his life almost suicidally, and I think I can understand where he's coming from. I imagine that he wanted to try and draw some attention, but I really don't think that it managed to do that. I think that all it did was really sacrifice himself. But nonetheless, they won the round, so you can't dawdle on it too much. And what's coming here is a flash to one's own face and a Zeus to the chest. Thwomp gets very close to Brock and finds the easy one-shot kill. But running free, he misses an entire clip, and the only damage that gets dealt to Thwomp is by his own teammate's USP. EgoPeek knew that there was 2 players towards mid, so that is good information gained. Hugs and Slugs takes 1, takes 2 of the players on B site. Some headshots are found, and Carbine is barely going to get this bomb down. He luckily does fall back very quickly. Unsure of where the second player is. They know one player is Banana, and he is out for vengeance. Carbine goes down very quickly. Thwomp is just looking solid. He knows this map up and down at the back of his hand. That was a beautiful pre-aim and immediate execution of the players on site. No chance for them to really defend themselves, and no chance for a real buy in this round from EgoPeek. They have very little money, and they can't really do much, even with getting bombed down and winning a couple of rounds. Actually, a round. HeadShotBoys are looking great, though. They even have an op. A lot of utility. 2 kits to boot. This is an uphill battle for EgoPeek. They have 1 AK, 1 scout. That's about it. Things are going to be moving a little bit slowly here, and I imagine when something does happen, it will be an explosion of action. EgoPeek has done a good job of baiting out a lot of utility for the HeadShotBoys side. And they don't have a lot here. What they are doing is they're executing on this B site right now, and they're running into this player. Hugs and Slugs was too close to the wall. It doesn't seem like they could really avoid that flash, and neither could EgoPeek. They all get blinded. Carbine knows who this player is, and he is trapped in a bad situation. He is on almost no HP, and he does go down. EgoPeek gets to take the site, and it looks like they want to take a little bit more position. They fight this church position, and Thwomp just gives it to them. Wow, what a call from EgoPeek. Carbine finds every player. It's not even the call that matters. The other two players are on A site, but it doesn't matter if you find all the kills. That was a ballsy call. It worked out. There was only one player to take a 1v3 on the B site. Meanwhile, the other two players were going to fight A. I think that they believed that they didn't have good enough weaponry to try and just beat out the site entirely, so they wanted to pull a fake, but Carbine wanted to prove them wrong and say that he could do it himself, and he did. This round, even though EgoPeek didn't have that great of weaponry, they pulled it out of their ass, so we're gonna see if HeadShotBoys can do it too. It doesn't seem like it. EgoPeek, while they didn't have great weaponry, didn't have, well, pistols, mostly. And, that was a little bit of a sloppy take, I would have to say, but doesn't look like it's gonna really matter in the end. The only player that went down had an AK, but the player with the MAC-10 picked it up, so essentially all that got dropped was the MAC-10. Not a bad trade. EgoPeek is on 7. It seems like they finally found some footing, and HeadShotBoys is actually going to pull a double save. I think that they really want to get a solid buyout so that they can just try and end it. I think that's the right call. I don't really like it when teams try and force getting to 14 or 15. A lot of times I actually see that being teams' downfall, is when they're close to winning and they know it, and so they just play wrong. But the HeadShotBoys are playing this surprisingly well. They're taking their medicine, and it seems as though they're okay with losing a round to win overall. I don't really know what that was. I mean, there is one player that could have been killed if he was right-click knifed, that being Brock, but I think that was a little bit fun to go for. I think it's not going to really result in anything. I don't think any player here is really going to go down for the EgoPeek side, and oh, the Willish Scurvy hits a very nice shot like that. EgoPeek onto 8, and they really needed that. Even though those were 2 pistol rounds for HeadShotBoys, it really does help the EgoPeek side. Momentum, even when gained on pistols, is very good, but what else is very good is the buy coming out from HeadShotBoys. They have a double op setup. They only have 1 kit. I wish that they had a second kit. I have to say so. I also realized their double op is on A. Both their players are on A site with the ops. There's no one here on this B site with the op. They only have 2 players here to begin with. One player is holding back towards CT, and looks like they're just willing to play retake. That is a bold call, and allowing yourselves to play retake when you have a double op setup is just really not good. I don't know a great way to say it. I'm not trying to be biased towards EgoPeek, but HeadShotBoys are just playing this completely wrong if they are willing to play retake with double op, and that's their call. Their call is also to smoke themselves off on site. I understand that he got Molotov out. They eventually do find the players on site, and they are very quickly put into a 3v5 retake scenario with almost no chance of retaking it. They have double op and no kit, though it will be possible if EgoPeek continuously peek into them, and they do just that. Oh, wow, what a lineup. Looked like that was right on Hugs and Slugs, but unfortunately that was not the case. Sorry, not Hugs and Slugs, I meant Carbine. But his last remaining player is Church, and he is trapped in every sense of it. Carbine with a jumping shot like it is the unskillful game of either Halo or Call of Duty. Take your pick, both suck equally as bad. Hate me, I don't care. If you can jump and shoot, and if you have a 50 bullet clip that doesn't ever have recoil, the game is trash. Moving on. What is also trash is the buy from HeadShotBoys after that double op round. I mean, that is the downfall of double op. When you double op, you are absolutely just shattering your own economy. You better win that round maintaining at least one op with like remaining alive. Otherwise you're in hell, and that's exactly what they're doing. EgoPeek has clawed it back. Like I said, this game wasn't over, and even though they won 2 rounds in a row off of pistols, like I said, that's just what they needed, and they really started finding their stride. It seems as though they know what they're doing now, or not. Every time I say something, they just feel like proving me wrong. They know what they're doing. Immediately team, like almost team kill. I love it. Oh, am I the only one who wanted to see that actually kill? Running free, missed the op shot. He just gave away a free op to Scurvy. They're not even going to be able to chase him down. That was... I have to say that op shot did look like it would hit, but regardless, why was the opper alone out of position that far out in the open without any ability to be traded? The op is the one weapon I just said is crucial for maintaining economy, and he was just out in the open, and he gave them a free op. Yes, I expected that shot to hit, and I imagine he did too, but that doesn't really matter. He died and gave them a free op, and there was no way to trade, no way to do anything, and it resulted in another kill going in the favor of Scurvy. Mr. Beef also goes down. I really question that play. I question that positioning. And even though EgoPeek have looked strong, that could very well be the tide of battle turning in favor of HeadShotBoys. This op, which they would not have had otherwise. It does take the opening shot, but it does not find the opening kill. What does find the opening kill is the op of running free that I just criticized. I'm not really a fan of taking the Furious Smoke B with an AK. I understand that it's a great smoke, but it doesn't matter if your opponents are ready for it. They're just going to shoot there even if they can't see you, and that's exactly what happened. Running free found the opening kill onto Scurvy, and well, it did not really look good. Molotov is going to delay and buy some time, or so I thought. They're just going to run straight through it, and what a shot from Hugs and Slugs. Sal goes straight down. No chance for anything, but HeadShotBoys is going to fight tooth and nail to try and take back this site. They cannot keep losing. They need to try and do a little bit better. They had a firm hold on this match, and they are slowly losing it. Hugs and Slugs goes down to 22 HP, but he lives. Kiro goes down to 5. Running free, he knew that he was very low. He knew that he tagged that player. And Ludix getting encroached on, and he knows it, but he was trapped. Stuck in church, a mausoleum, about to be his catacombs. HeadShotBoys have looked lost on their CT side. Whereas on T side, they looked very confident. They looked like their aim was just going to completely reign over EgoPeek, and that there was nothing they could have done. It doesn't seem as though their aim is just going to be able to get it done on the CT side. They looked like they knew what they were doing on their T side, and they did. They really did, but on the CT side, they've just looked flat. And obviously it was the same for EgoPeek. EgoPeek has looked very strong on their T side thus far, but also looked extremely flat on their CT side. That nade is very chunky. Ludix down to 40, but oh, he is pre-aiming Mr. Beef perfectly. falls down to 20, but he does find the kill and an AK. A little bit of AK for his troubles, and Ludix, he re-peeks at the perfect time. He finds Brock, and this is a perfect crossfire that eventually does go down, but it finds 3 kills before it does that nade hits running free in the face. He goes down. Carbine is in a horrible situation. Oh, now he's in a worse situation. He's in hell. His character dies, and well, I'm not really sure. Is it hell? He got reincarnated, but he's reincarnated to just continuously get shot in the face again and again. I would consider that hell. I would. That could have been really bad. That was... that could have been terrible. It wasn't, so we won't talk about it. We are into the 26th round. HeadShotBoys finally won another round on their CT side, but it's on the back of some heroics, and I'm not exactly sure if that's going to be able to happen every single round. And EgoPeek does have a great buy into this round again, and they have some money to spare into the next round as well. Wow, what a sliver angle. Carbine down to HP. He promptly leaves. He knew that he was about to get naded down. He does not want to take an HE to the face, and well, I don't blame him. I wouldn't either. EgoPeek has made the right call again. I have to say, if they go B right now, then they're doing a lot of things right. I mean, they have chosen the right side a lot. They went a little bit too slowly. 3 Molotovs come out for the CT side, but Sal doesn't even find the player that was... that pushed through the Molotov, and Skirby goes down. He was at 2 HP from the Molotov. It seems as though they're never really prepared for that Molotov that gets placed down, and EgoPeek's also not prepared for this Opper who has the position, and well, now running free is in position, and he's not going to miss that shot. Op v Op. Ludix walks straight into the waiting arms of running free. Hero, he knows where all of these players are. Is he going to be able to do it? Hugs and Slugs takes. That is a very risky duel, but it worked out nicely. I mean, it was a very risky play, and I think it was the right call, actually. You allow your Opera who's full HP to get off at least 2 shots in that case. If you wide swing, you can throw away your own life, and yeah, I think that he was playing for his team. Even though he got the kill, I think that it showed that he believed in running free, who had the op to win that 1v1 if he went down. Hero with a hero deagle shot onto Brock. He barely saw his head for a fraction of a second, but a fraction of a second is all he needs, and running free does not realize he's getting pushed. He's about to back away into these players. He gets a very nice quick scope, but takes a lot of damage in the meantime. Down to 16. If he did not hit that quick scope, would have definitely died. He luckily does, though, and Pump just throws away his life. He just wide swings into a site. EgoPeek go, and they're going to meet no resistance because there are no players here. Both the A-site players for HeadShotBoys just peeked into EgoPeek. I'm not exactly sure why, but I guess they just didn't feel like living anymore. And obviously the HeadShotBoys are going to go for this. They're on a save round, and they're going to buy next round, so the EgoPeek players are just going to shoot them in the face. Very self-explanatory. 14-13. EgoPeek has brought it all the way back. This is an extremely close match. And this is the pivotal round. If you were to look back at this match, it would definitely be this one. 14-13, HeadShotBoys gets off a full buy, 2 kits, an op, 4 M4s, full utility. Meanwhile, EgoPeek also has an op, 4 AKs. HeadShotBoys are at very low money. EgoPeek, though, is at a lot of money. HeadShotBoys are really going to need to win 2 rounds in a row. And then they'll be at 16. That's math. EgoPeek, if they win one, it's going to be a lot easier to win the next. Mr. Beef, expecting a player to be close, and he is right. That nade tickles Thwomp, but... How much is happening? This is just a standard play from both sides. As I say that, Thwomp just pushes very aggressively, and they're not expecting him to still be here. They think he fell back into abs, and it seems like Thwomp is gonna single-handedly try and take this round into his hands. They expected him to fall back into abs. They saw him fall back, but they weren't exactly sure where, and he's still sticking around. He wants to win this round badly, and he knows how to. He just needs to get all of the kills. It's as simple as that. And it looks like he might. That's 4 kills. He's on for the ace. Running free down to 28 HP. I'm not sure if he thought he had Thwomp or not, but it doesn't matter. He finds the headshot with the P250. On to 14 HP. Thwomp has done enough. That is a 4K solely on his aggression and his aim. He took EgoPeek behind the barn and said, "It's okay. You did well. But your time is up. Rest in peace, Old Yeller." EgoPeek's not completely dead yet. In fact, like I stated before, they have a very healthy buy. They're going to need to win 2 in a row to send it into overtime, but it's not impossible. They have a good buy here, and Carbine does have $4,000 in the bank. So I wonder if HeadShotBoys are going to play standard or not. I mean, they've looked very lackluster in their defaults on the CT side, and only thing that's really won them rounds in the CT side is heroics. There was the heroics in apartments from Ludix in a previous pistol round, and then the last round Thwomp found a 4K based off of just pushing aggressively. So I don't really think I like the standard play of HeadShotBoys. And normally you like seeing a default, you like seeing a slow play, but it hasn't worked for them thus far, and we'll see if it works for them this round, because they're playing slow, and EgoPeek is taking some map control. That nade is going to take some... Oh, no damage. I thought it was going to take some damage. Difference in this round is HeadShotBoys has a lot of utility, and I mean a lot of utility. This is a very... This is a fun round to cast, I have to say. All 5 players from HeadShotBoys are heading towards the B site. What a call from EgoPeek. There's 15 seconds left. The only player that was headed towards A in Thwomp gets immediately taken down by the P250 of running free, and every other player fell off of site. They thought it was a B attack. They called it was a B attack, and that's gotta be frustrating for HeadShotBoys. I mean, you know that's gonna be a little bit of a sting that some people might blame each other, but what can you do? I mean, EgoPeek made a brilliant call, and I really don't know what's happening right here, because EgoPeek has good weaponry. Like, this dude just keeps shuffling guns away to try to throw them away so that EgoPeek can't get them. But I mean, Carbine's on almost $8,000, Hugging the Slugs is on $6,000. They don't really need to prevent them from picking up an M4, which they wouldn't have picked up regardless. It almost resulted in his death as well. This is the end-all, be-all round of regulation. Round 30. HeadShotBoys 15, EgoPeek 14. Can EgoPeek bring it all the way back to 15-15, or will HeadShotBoys barely drag it out over the line, bring it to 16? That is not the way to start. Like I said in the previous round, I do want to see some aggression, but that was just unprecedented. Like, I mean, what was he really doing? He wide swung without any utility, without any help. and he just wide swung mid. It's not really, that's not really the right call. I wanted to see aggression. I wanted to see intelligent aggression, not that. It seems as though HeadShotBoys realize that they are getting desperate, and EgoPeek, they are 5-man train rolling into this B site. They know that they play 2 players on B alone. Hugs and Slugs full blind knows where this player likes to play. Sal goes down. Carbine, well, he gets burned down. Post-mortem, Sal finds a kill, but Hugs and Slugs knew exactly where he liked to play, and Mr. Beef knows exactly where that player is, apparently. And, no, that was a very good call from EgoPeek this round and the previous round. Previous round was a beautiful fake. This round, I mean, they know that they only ever play 2 players on this B site, and that they normally only play 1 actually on site, normally 1 CT. So when they found the player on Banana, it was just a very easy B push. They knew that there would be 1 player just sitting on site alone with no backup. They just instantly sprinted onto site. That was a right call in everyone's book. And that right call led them to 15. They brought it all the way back from the depths of despair. 14. 13 was also looking rough. Ended up losing and going down 15-13. They had to battle back so many times. They had to battle back and do so much, and they did. I think they're looking very strong to win this game too. A lot of times, I have to say, if you're a team that's up by a good 8 rounds, 9 rounds, you're normally not too happy when it goes into overtime. You think that you have it solidified when it's like 13-4, 13-5, but then it goes all the way back, and it's got to be disheartening. Curious, HeadShotBoys decides not to buy an op. We're just gonna go with 5 rifles and, well, 3 kits. The one takes the fight alt mid. He takes 2 kills while burning. He took so much damage, but he found such good kills. Those precise shots made it so that he could very quickly take those kills out before even getting burned to death. Plays like that is what I said HeadShotBoys needed. I don't know why they never took that fight beforehand in regulation. I mean, look what happened. Hugs and Slugs, he's alive, but barely, and I don't think he should be. He heard the player get hit with that molly tick, and he ran straight in with his knife out before the player even got burned out. So I'm not exactly sure what that was, but again, EgoPeek is making the right call, and they're going to this A site, which only has 1 player, but Kiro is in a very great spot. But it doesn't matter. He was trying to hold his trigger, have some discipline, and it resulted in his death. That is karma. He was getting a little bit too greedy. Hugs and Slugs was on 2 HP, and he wanted more, and it turned out that Hugs and Slugs quickly found him. The no-scope. I'm not sure if it's really going to do much. Brock finds 1. He needs to find the 2nd. This flashbang doesn't really find its mark. But what does find its mark is the bullets into his opponent's chest. Scurvy goes down. Brock finds the kill. And that was a blunder from Kiro. I don't want to call out a man in particular, but he should have just killed the player that pushed onto site. He had 2 HP, and he tried to hold his trigger. He tried to play disciplined, and that was just not the right scenario to do it in. I mean, that really threw the entire first round of overtime on the counter. You can also say that it was Hugs and Slugs who saved the first round of overtime for EgoPeek. He had 2 HP, and he found the only A-site player with 2 HP and a no-scope while having bomb. That was such an important frag. That was such a blunder, such a misstep, but at the same time, such a beautiful play. It's one of those things that when you're cheering for them, it was intelligent, and when you're rooting against them, it was luck. I think that it was a little bit of both for both players' cases. A little bit of bad luck for Kiro, a little bit of good luck for Hugs and Slugs, a little bit of skill for Hugs and Slugs, and a little bit of bad luck, and well, a wrong call for Kiro. What's not a wrong call, though, is HeadShotBoys. A lot of times that EgoPeek has attacked this B side, it's been with 2 players, and this is going to be the first time they're really attacking it with 3 defenders from HeadShotBoys on it. I'm not sure why HeadShotBoys have decided to go so different in this CT overtime. Sal finds 2 through smoke, and Brock gets put down to 22 through the Molotov, and EgoPeek has 15 seconds and almost no utility to be able to take this site. HeadShotBoys, they have complete control of this site, and with that kill onto Brock, there is no way for them to be able to win this round. The other 2 players are just going to run away and hide. They have won this round solely by survival. And HeadShotBoys has looked like a completely different CT side in these 2 rounds of overtime. In round 1, they found the initial 2 kills with Thwomp pushing that balcony position with an assisted flashbang. Yeah, he got mollied out, but he found 2 kills before the case. What is these 2 P90s? Silver League hero, boys! We're in overtime, you had 10K. I love it. I love to see the P90s. This is a tried and true B rush, as though you are silvers. Pedal to the metal, hold W and don't stop, boys. It worked. 2 kills are quickly found, one of which does come at the expense of a P90 and some laughs. EgoPeek opens up sight very quickly. That is the advantage of the P90s. And the advantage of a well-spotted nade is 55 damage onto Kiro. 45 damage, excuse me. Math. Things are looking well for EgoPeek, but as I say that, kill goes in favor. 2 kills go in favor of HeadShotBoys. It's on a 1v1 op duel, and Ludix, I question why he didn't buy the op in the first round of overtime, and I guess I have to question it again. That was some very nice shooting. He found 3 kills. He really saved them in that round, considering how many rounds have been won at the hands of terrorists in this game. I think EgoPeek really needed to win that round. HeadShotBoys winning 2 CT rounds is very big for the program. Program of victory, that is. Okay. Overtime part 2. Well, overtime round 2, not part 2. We're not sure if we're going to have to get to a part 2, but we'll be around if we do need to. EgoPeek does get an op. HeadShotBoys does not have one. I'm okay with no op on T side, but I was very surprised that they did not have one on CT side, and with how well Ludix did in that previous round, I'm definitely questioning why he did not have one every single round of CT side that he could. Some nades go back and forth for both sides, and really doesn't do much, especially with that smoke. And Mr. Beef actually looked, he would have realized that that smoke did nothing. There is an enormous gap in that arch smoke. This is a really strange play. Bomb is car side B, but the other 3 players are very aggressive up A. I imagine that some players are going to be falling back soon, especially with how much of this A site the HeadShotBoys have taken, and there is a 3rd player over here on B now, and the A site players are really going to have to do some work, especially with this site smoke. You're just going to be able to get to site for free. Carbine is really going to have no way of helping his teammate on site. And Mr. Beef does go down. His site teammate had no help from him. Plant's going to come safe, and they're just going to ignore this pit player in Carbine. The Carbine doesn't want to be ignored. He wants to push the pressure. He wants to let his presence be known, and he goes down as a result of it. Skirby wants to take a fight too with Hugs and Slugs and goes down to 1 HP because of it. Hugs and Slugs, wow. A very controlled spray from Skirby. He finds the player through smoke, and last player is running free on this op, and he is going to try and escape, but he knows he is very close. Pincered, and he is getting close. Knifed. That is 18 rounds. 2 match points for HeadShotBoys. They need to get to 19, and EgoPeek, they need to do it again. They need to win 2 in a row to bring it into overtime. Except this time they want it to be brought into overtime part 2, which I alluded to beforehand. Let's see if they can manage it. Flash goes out mid, and it blinds, well, everyone. T and CT alike. Running free is going to miss his op shot, and Skirby is not going to miss his AK spray. Opening duel is won for the HeadShotBoys, and that is something that is a very big turning point in this match. The opening kill on a map like Inferno is enormous, especially with the lack of utility that EgoPeek already has. There's a minute 15 left in this match, or this round rather, I'm sorry. And look at the utility. They have 1 smoke remaining, and it's not looking good. They're going to just need to hit some headshots or some op shots like that one. Mr. B finds an op shot towards A, and Hugs and Slugs unfortunately makes a lot of noise rotating off B. They know that he's rotating off, and they catch him. They knew exactly where he was going to be. Thwomp knows these 2 remaining players are on the A site. He's just going to hold them off, and EgoPeek looks troubled. Thwomp knows this last player is, and he's going to take them all. Thwomp, he heard the player in Hugs and Slugs rotate off B site, caught him out, and knew that all the remaining players were on A. And he was just sitting and waiting, lurking, and he knew exactly what was going to happen. It is unfortunate, but EgoPeek fought really hard. I said they probably had an advantage in overtime, but HeadShotBoys, it looked like a completely different beast in overtime. It looked like they, realistically, it didn't look like they were taking it seriously in regulation, because they played significantly better in overtime. They pulled out strats, and they just played well. Whereas they really didn't in regulation.